Friday Finance with Dr. Marvin Scott. First Friday Finance with the father in business. First Friday Finance with Dr. Marvin Scott. Say First Friday Finance with the father in business.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm glad to be back. Happy New Year. We're so excited about what's going on, and hopefully, you're taking these nuggets and these things that we're going over, and you're starting to apply them and helping you to really change yourself. It's about personal growth. It's about self growth, because there's one thing you got to understand is you can have more than you got, because you can become more than who you are. You can become more, and the more you become, the more you grow, the more you understand, the more you actually can have. So just taking these nuggets and these things that we're talking about and really applying them, and you can begin to see yourself. You can really begin to see yourself grow, not just financially, but mentally. But understanding, as you grow mentally and understanding your understanding of finances and just budgeting, you can see financially you could begin to grow. So again, you can have more than you got, because you can become more than who you are, right? And so now another thing I would say and tell you is this: that remember, unless you change who you are, right, you're gonna always have what you got. So unless you change who you are, you're gonna always have what you got. So if think about this, and actually, you say, you think about, the Bible talks about sowing and reaping, right? And you sow, and then, the Bible says, whatsoever man soweth, that shall he also reap, right? Well, the thing is this, think about this, is this: if you don't like what the crop that's coming up, then you got to ask yourself, who sowed the seed? Either you sowed the seed, or somebody that's in close proximity to you sowed the seed. But the whole point is, there's a seed that's being sowed that's bringing up a crop that you don't like, right? So if you don't like what you're seeing, then you got to change what you're sowing, right? So if you don't like what you're seeing in your finances, then you got to change what you're sowing into your finances. You got to change the way you think. And as you change the way you think and you begin to grow in these different areas, I promise you, you're going to see changes happen in your finances, and you're going to begin to have more money in your pocket, more money in the bank. You know what I'm saying? And then you get to that place where you want to be, where you have a level of financial freedom. Because you got to remember that wealth management is what? Is 80% behavior, 20% skill, right? 80% behavior, mindset, 20% skill. I try to tell everybody, I'm not an accountant, anything like that. I'm not a financial advisor. But understanding that, I want to talk to you about I'm coming to you like from the standpoint of a family member, not as a professional in this business, where tax consultant or anything like that. No, I'm coming to you as a family member saying, hey man, these are some of the things that I did to help me in my financial situation. So these are some of the things that you can do in your financial situation, and hopefully you will see a change as well. But one thing you got to understand is you got to apply it. You know what I mean? Wisdom that's not applied is nothing, it's foolishness. So if someone gives you some good advice or some good wisdom, then once you start applying it, then you can start seeing the fruit thereof, because you start sowing the seed. You start sowing, and then at that point, you'll start seeing the change. So just understand, these are all the things that we got to see, again, because in most cases, your level of financial freedom does not exceed your personal development under money. Again, the more you understand, the more you are personally developed in this area of finances, guess what? The more money you have. And then the more finances you have, the more financial freedom you have. Think about this, right? If your bills are X, right? and the way your money is why. So if you have one money that does not give you enough why, you have to work more because why has to meet or exceed your X. The amount of money that you bring in has to meet and exceed the amount of money that has to go out paying bills and so forth and so on, right? And so, so then some people work two jobs, right? They'll work two jobs because again, they're trying to make their income exceed their expenses, but then it may be some other things that they want. They may like want a car or want something else. So you know what? I need to increase what I'm doing so that I can have enough money to take care of that. But think about this: the more I learn and understand money, the more I understand this. Guess what? The more money I'll be able to save, which now gives me a level of financial freedom so that I don't have to work as much. And I think I might have told you guys this before, but I'll share it again. I can remember graduating from pharmacy school with my BS degree in pharmacy. And once I graduated with that degree, I went right back to pharmacy school to get my doctor of pharmacy. But at that time, while I'm going to school, I'm working at Winn-Dixie Pharmacy. I'm working at Kmart Pharmacy. I'm working at American Home Patient. And I'm working at Health South Rehabilitation Hospital. I got four jobs. Yes, So I'm working four jobs, and guess what? I still didn't have any money to show for it. I didn't because I had so many bad habits that my money was just what? It was coming in and going out, coming in and going out, coming in and going out. And so I really didn't have any financial freedom. I had finances, but I didn't have any freedom because it was just the moment it came in, it went straight out. But it was amazing how once I started getting better with money management and understanding budgets and things like that, I realized I cut down and I was working at the university as a professor. And I think at one point I was just working part time at Health South Rehab Hospital for a while. And then I stopped that. But I wound up having more money in the bank and having more money at that time than I did when I was working four jobs. Why? Because of money management. So that gets into this place of the positives of having a budget, right? So one positive of having a budget is you stop living from paycheck to paycheck. Think about this. A lot of times, many people don't even really know how much they have coming in because it just comes in and it goes right back out. It comes in and it goes right back out. You'll be surprised how many people I sit down with and we start going through their budget, start creating, doing things to create a budget, and we create that expense versus income sheet. And then they look at it and they realize, wait a minute, you got a whole lot of money left over at the end of the month. You just don't see it because it's not budgeted. You know what I mean? So it stops you from living paycheck to paycheck because you'll be able to see where everything is. The other thing that it does is it helps you to get out and stay out of debt. That's the second thing about a positive of having a budget. It'll help you get out of debt and it'll help you stay out of debt, because you can manage your money better. You can see things better. So it just helps you to stay out of debt. So again, you stop living paycheck to paycheck, and then it helps you to get out of debt and it helps you to stay out of debt. Why? How can it help you get out of debt and stay out of debt? Because you get a grip on your spending. That's the third thing, because you get a grip on your spending. And once you get a grip on spending, you're now able to say, you know what? I know what my debt level is. I know how much I can stand to do for this and for that. And just out of that. One thing I remember, right, is growing up, Rent-A-Center got a lot of our money, right? Because we wouldn't save up to get a TV or to get whatever. What you did is you go and you get it right then. And of course you're paying, 4, 5, 6 times what that TV is worth of whatever that device is. You're paying so much more than what it's worth because you're trying to get it now versus, you know what, if I can manage my money, put a little money aside, right? And then just slowly build up, and then I can get it. So one, I'm staying out of debt, right? I'm out of debt and I'm staying out of debt. Why? Because I got a grip on my spending. The other thing is a budget will help you identify, ways to cut costs, right? and help you identify ways to cut costs. Because when you're trying to figure out, okay, well, it's not quite adding up. When I go through my budget, I can see areas where I'm over budget and be able to say, you know what, I can cut down in this area. I can see what's essential. I can see things that are non-essential. So you know what, I don't need that, right? I mean, for example, cable gets very expensive. Cable and internet gets very expensive. And so you got the cable and the internet, because even though they're coming through the same company, a lot of times, there's a separate piece of the bill. You got the cable, your internet, and then on the other hand, then you got a cell phone, right? So you got to ask yourself the question: do I really need cable? Do I really need internet? Are those things really essential? Or is that something that's disguising itself as essential because I don't need it? Because really and truly, I can use my phone. Maybe if I cut back on TV a little bit and did a little bit more reading, I can find ways to make more money. And then guess what? I can have a greater level of financial freedom, right? So a budget also will help you to set and prioritize your financial goals. Because hopefully once you set a goal, a budget, then you start putting goals in place as to where do you want to be, in the next 6 months or the next year, what do you want to be? 5 years from now, where do you want to be? At what age do you want to retire? You got to think about that, because a lot of times we weren't taught. Like, if you grew up in a household like I did, you grew up in the projects, no one's thinking about retirement. I don't remember me and my friends sitting down saying, yeah, man, I want to retire at age 50. So, this is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to start putting these things in place so I can retire. We didn't think about none of that stuff. When you don't have, you always think about the stuff you want to get, right? So that was just the mindset that we had. And so now, but think about it now, you set a budget. It now helps you to be able to prioritize and set financial goals. Where do you want to be? At what age do you want to retire? What does that really mean, retire? Does that mean just, I'm going to leave my job and now I got to find something else because I got to go to work? Or does that mean, you know what, if I don't work another day in my life, I'm good, And then you got to say, okay, so what does that look like? Does that look like, $50,000 a year for the next 30 years? Because then you got to think and plan about how long do you expect to live, So does that look like $100,000 a year for the next 30 to 50 years? So you got to make those plans. But guess what? Having a budget helps you to do that. And there are several other positives to having a budget. We'll put some of those other things out, next month. We'll talk about a few of those other things as well. But remember, but you got to remember, there's a debt mindset and behavior. And one of the things about a budget is it helps you to overcome that debt mindset and behavior. So remember, we talked about this before, but I'm going to put these things out here. And then I want to go back to that budget so we can finish doing that budget. Remember, we said spending too much, right? Remember, we said keeping up with the Joneses, right? Or trying to look rich or die trying, right? Spending too much, right? So that's a debt mindset. That's a debt behavior. And again, if you start doing your budget, it helps you to kind of catch that and bring that under, kind of bring that under control, because now you're seeing where your money's going and you can tell, well, I'm spending too much money here or there, and you start cutting things out. You make a conscious effort. And that's the thing about that mindset, that behavior. You begin to make a conscious effort to do things differently. I promise you right now, you spend money in ways subconsciously you don't even think about it. You just do it. But the moment you start doing a budget, you start looking at it, it forces you to see things differently. And so now you start making conscious decisions on what you're going to spend, how much you're going to spend, because you know what should be then how much you should be doing. Another thing real quick is when a debt mindset is not keeping up, not keeping track of your bills, right? So again, understand, what does the budget do? The budget puts everything in front of you, and now you know how much is supposed to be going there. You know how much you pay every month. So it keeps it right in front of you. So that's how a budget attacks that mindset. And again, the more you work on the budget, the more your mindset changes, and you start doing a better job of keeping up with your bills, knowing what's due, when it's due, and doing a better job of managing your money. So now, guess what? You're paying your bills on time, so your credit score is starting to go up, right? And then, two, another thing is using your credit cards to pay for essentials, right? And so, understanding once I have my budget in place, I know what my essentials are. I know I have money, so I don't have to borrow money and spend extra money to pay for those essentials. Why? Because I actually know and I have money in my budget to take care of those things. Now, it's okay. For example, some people like using their debit card. Me personally, I don't like using my debit card. Now, again, you're going to have people on both sides of that. You're going to have people who they prefer to use their debit card, and they use a debit card for everything. They don't like using a credit card, right? For me, I don't like using the debit card only because in certain situations, if a person goes into that store or at a store, gets your information, they have access right into your checking account. And again, you can get that money back, but they have access to all of your money, and that's a bigger fight. That's a harder fight. But on a credit card, it's just a lot easier to get your money back, and you don't have to get bogged down with that. However, understanding if I use my credit card, I don't have to let it gain interest because I just pay that credit all the way off. Now, again, you got to look at debt to income ratio. So you don't want to put too much on your credit card, because the more you put on your credit card, the harder hit your credit score would take. But again, it's okay to use a credit card. So I don't want to talk like a credit card is evil and you should never have a credit card, because me personally, I feel like there's certain things that you should use a credit card for that you shouldn't use a debit card for. And, for example, let's say you're traveling, you don't really want to use your debit card in a place where you're traveling to, and you really don't know the people and know the situation. So that's just me, maybe I'm a little skeptical and so forth and so on. So, hey, that's, I don't do that. So anyway, but again, you don't want to use your credit card to pay for essentials and just let it stay on your credit card and it just keep building interest. So now what cost you $30 should have cost you $30. Now it's costing you $40 or $45 because it's staying on your credit card for so long, and you're paying that interest. Another thing we want to talk about, this mindset or this behavior, is only paying the minimum, right? So when you have bills, only paying the minimum due. What a budget does is a budget helps you to see where your money is and how much you can start putting toward different things so that you can pay your debt off a lot faster. The moment you put everything out in an expense versus income, and then you put your budget together, then you can begin to see, you know what? I can put more on this bill, and I'm going to pay this bill off first, and then I can take money and put it towards this other bill. And it helps you to create a system of paying off your bills early. And then the last thing we want to talk about is a budget helps you to begin to control those spending impulses. That budget helps you to do that. So again, we talked about positives of having a budget, right? And then we just went to debt mindset, debt behaviors that many of us probably had certain aspects of, right? And we just talked to how if you have a budget, that budget speaks to those different things and it helps you to kind of control it. So now remember, you can have more than what you got, right? Because you can become more than who you are. So you change the way you think. Guess what? You change the way you live, right? Right? Because now remember, your financial freedom tends to live right around the area of your what? Financial understanding, your financial development, right? So the more you understand finances, the more you understand money, and you begin to use it the right way, the amount of money that you have begins to do what? Begins to increase. Understand this. The more you are aware of your finances, the more finances you begin to attract, right? I want to go to this budget, but I want to just tell you this. There's a story in the Bible, right, where Jesus tells the story where this man goes and he gives his servants talents. He says he gives one 5 talents, he gives one 2 talents, and he gives the last one 1 talent. But what I want you to see and understand is he says he gave it to them severally according to their ability, right? So he gave one five because he had ability to manage five. He gave one two because he had the ability to manage two. And he gave one because he felt like he had the ability to manage one. And the story holds out because the one who only had one, he didn't do anything with it. So why would I give more to someone who's not going to do anything with it to make it grow, right? So just understanding that the more you have, the greater the ability you have to manage money, the more money begins to come your way. That begins to come your way. So I just think that is very, very, very important. Now, real quick, last time, we were talking about a budget. I just want to bring this back up. And here we go. I'm gonna share this. So hopefully you can see my screen now. Okay. So here, remember we were talking about this and we were going through the budget and we were talking about how we put 5% here, say it should be at least 5%. We want more, it should be more than that. But again, at least 5%. We started talking about transportation, and again, so understanding with a budget, what it does, it helps you to see, where your money should be going. For example, most people will know what their car payment is, but if you ask them how much money they spend on gas, they don't know, right? They don't really know. And then the other thing is this, you got to have, maintenance. You got to, do oil change every so often. You know what I mean? There's different maintenance on the car. You got to get your tires rotated, those types of things. What if a tire goes bad? So having this in your budget says, you know what, I'm putting $62 a month. If this is what it was, I'm going to put $62 a month aside. Even if I don't use it this month, I put it aside, I put it aside, I put it aside, so that, guess what, when it's time for me to pay, something comes up, I have money in my maintenance and repairs to pay for it. It's the same thing with your insurance and your tag. You don't have to pay like some of us, we pay insurance every month, but you don't have to pay your tag, every month, right? So, but again, you put money aside. So when it is time to pay for your tag, guess what? You already have the money in there to pay for your tag. And so that's kind of how that budget works, to where you're putting money aside. So even if it's not something that you pay every month, it is something that I know I'm going to have to pay in 5 months and 3 months or whatever. So you break it up and you put however, like, for example, if you got to pay something every 6 months, right? So what you would do is you would break up that 6 month bill and divide it by 6 and then put that amount in your savings account. Put that amount in your savings account. And then when the 6 months comes, you're able to take all that money out and then put it in the main account so that you can pay that bill. But I've been preparing for that bill by putting money aside every month until it was time to pay that bill. Right now, this is an area right here that we talk about. This is different from health insurance. Now, this is not health insurance. This area here is like, for example, if you go to the doctor or the dentist, you got copays, right? So if you have copays, that goes here. Now, health insurance itself can be a whole lot more expensive, right? Yeah, I mean, it is expensive. It can be roughly $17, $18, $2,000 a month. Just depends on who your insurance is through and who you with. So you would have to put that in your budget, and you would have to find a way to put that in your budget. And if that's the case, when it's in your budget, then you got to figure out, what do I have to take out or what do I have to cut down on, right? Now, here, I got all other, right? And again, this child care, we know this is not realistic, because if you have children, hamburger, right? We know that's a lot more, it gets a lot more expensive than that. But what happens here is you put it here. I put it here because everybody doesn't have a child, right? And because they don't have a child, I kind of put it here because I want you to understand that we have to take that into account. But down here is a lot of what we would call non-essential things, right? Meaning that, for example, personal care. I mean, I go to the barbershop, right? But do I have to go to the barbershop? There are some people that says, man, forget it. I'm gonna learn how to cut my hair myself. There have been times in my past where, you know what, I've cut my hair myself. It didn't come out too good, but it was done. But the whole point is almost like, personal care. Do you have to get your nails done? I mean, I know it would be nice, but maybe you could save money if you did your nails yourself, or whatever, right? Credit card payments. Do you, what are you spending that credit card on? If your money is taking care of your necessities and all your necessities are taken care of, then, do you need this credit card, right? So these are non-essential things to some degree. Vacation or leisure. Now, honestly, me personally, this is non-essential area, but I think you have to have an area where you put money aside, where you either go to the movies or go out to dinner or whatever. Be able to spend some money on you. You know what I mean? I feel like if you're working hard and you're doing all those different things, you should be able to take a little time to basically enjoy the money and look at where it is. But anyway, you put your budget together the way that it fits you. I have a budget for charitable donations, 10%. I believe in the tithe. So for me, charitable donation is going to be at least 10% because that's what a tithe is. Now, again, you can do 10%, you can do 15%. If you say your charitable donation is going to be 5%, then it's 5%. But you put what you want to put. Some people say, well, this area here, think about this. A lot of people, when money gets tight, this is the area that goes, right? So if I take this out, right, here, so when I come down here, now I look at my total expenses. This is my income, right? So if I cut my budget down, I can have money left over, right? I can have money left over. So this is kind of how you would look at this. So you would take your budget. Now again, these are the budget items. This is what it should be, right? Based off of the percentage. This is not actually what it is. This is just the percentage. If I make this amount, then this is what my budget should look like. But I can come here and let's say my budget for is $200, but I might be spending $300 for groceries, right? I don't even know what I'm spending on miscellaneous, but I'm already over $27, right? We put in rent or mortgage. We kind of put that in. Let's say for a telephone, let's say we're spending $120 a month, okay? And we ain't putting nothing for maintenance and repairs because we're going for it, right? Clothes and shoes, we don't think about it. But think about this. If you buy one pair of Jordans, you just blew this budget, right? But some of y'all, you got to get your new clothes and your new shoes or whatever. So you're spending that. Now, are you putting any money in your savings? No, all right. But let's say you got a car payment, gas. Let's say gas is $100, and then we don't even go to the doctor, so we're not taking care of ourselves. Now here it is, credit card payments. If we're doing $75 a month here, and we're going out to eat, and mercy, and then don't get your hair done, I'm gonna say going to a barbershop, right? So for me, going to the barbershop, been about $50, So now this just throwing it in, and I just put some numbers in. But so this is basically saying this is what your expenses, this is what you actually spent, this is what's net remaining. But then you would have to go back through this and say, wait a minute, but what am I missing? What am I not taking into account? What am I not budgeting for? So then that says, you know what I need to do? I need to go back through my budget and places where I can cut some things out and make some changes. That's what I'll do. So instead of spending $200 a month on clothes or whatever, for right now, let me just cut that out. And I'm going to fast on buying clothes. I'm not going to do that. It's going to be hard for you to get rid of your cell phone. Utilities are utilities, and your rent mortgage is just your rent mortgage. So you can't do too much about that. You already got the car, so can't do too much about that. Now your gas payment, you know, you can look and evaluate how much you're going back and forth. Are you going back and forth just to go back and forth? And then if you do, you might be able to cut that down some, but at the end of the day, $25 a week, that may be where some of you are. Many of you have cars where, you can go 2 weeks before you fill up if you control how much you go back and forth. So that's another thing there. Here, but then if you come down here, say, you know what, I'm gonna cut this down, $25. Leisure, I'm gonna cut that down to say, I'm just cut it in half, $100, right? Now, when we come down here, look, so now you got basically almost $400 left over in your budget. So guess what you can do? You can start trying to basically take this money here and put it on something else, or put it on a credit card or whatever it is, some debt, to start paying that debt off. So that's how you would do a budget. Just kind of see what your budget should be, put in your actual amount so you can see how much you're actually over, and then once you do that, now you can see, okay, well, how much money you got left, so that now you can begin to pay your credit cards down, or find a bill and pay it off. So if we say, for example, you want to pay your car faster, you can start putting extra money towards that car. But that's how a budget will work. You will go through, look at the areas where you can actually cut it down and save, and budget your money appropriately, so that now you can see how much money you have left over. And once you do that, you can start having finances increase, because we want to talk about being able to put your money in something that'll give you some compound interest. And we'll talk about that in another episode. Again, real quick, thank you so much for tuning in. Want to give you what we want to do for this next month as you're going through the 30-day challenge. What I want you to do is take time. Don't rush to answer the questions, but in your journal, I want you to answer the following question, right? The first question I want you to answer is how much do you value money as a tool? Now, because I want you to understand, money is a tool. Money, listen, the Bible says the love of money is the root of all evil. It didn't say money. It says the love of it, right? Because you can't serve two masters. But we understand that money is a powerful tool. The Bible also says a feast is for laughter and wine makes you merry, but money answers all things. So the Bible says that as well. So we understand the importance of money. So how much do you value money as a tool? Because if you don't value money as a tool, then guess what you do? You throw it away. But if you value something, then guess what? You'll treasure it a little bit more, and you won't just so easily throw it away. So that's the first question. The next question I want you to ask, to take your time to answer this question, is what are you willing to give? For money, your time, your talent, etc. This is an example. It's a tough one, but think about this. Some people are willing to give their body for money. You know what I mean? Some people, for money, they give up time with their children because they're working 2 or 3 jobs because they need money to pay bills, or because it's something that their kids need or whatever. So what are you willing to give up? Time, talent, etc. for money. Okay. Question number 3 that I want you to answer is, what are you willing to spend or overspend your money on? What are you willing to spend or overspend your money on? Because think about this now. If you really value money, and if you really value what you're willing to give up to get the money, right? Then you got to ask yourself, what am I willing to spend this money on? And then, right now you ask yourself, what are you spending your money on right now? What are you spending that money on? And then the last thing is, basically, when you look at these questions 2 and 3 balance each other out. In other words, is what you were spending your money on worth what you're willing to give up in the first place? Yeah, that's a big question. So in other words, are those Jordans that important to you that you, depending on how much you get paid an hour? Think about this. If you get paid $10 an hour, right? Well, to get those $200 for those Jordans or more, you got to work more than 20 hours because you got to remember they take taxes out of your check, right? So just think about it. Does it add up? Does it balance out? Is what I'm spending my money on worth what I'm giving up to get this money? And if it's not worth it, then you need to change the way you act. And if you change the way you act, you change the way you live. We'll see you next month for First Friday Finance. Again, I'm Marvin Scott. Thank you so much for tuning in.